CeeLo series got an update. What's cooking today?
Well, we got an Al Duke special update here.
Why
right?
an Al Duke special?
It's his 20th anniversary in radio today.
Radio in New York City.
Oh, New York City. I apologize.
I think Al may have done some small summer stock theater radio prior to New York.
Plus, he did Tampa as well.
He was a beat reporter for Tampa Bay Buccaneers back in the Dan Sileo days, I think.
Wow.
So 20 years in New York.
20?
That makes more sense now to me. Okay.
So, it's funny. When I saw Al's tweet earlier today that he's now been in New York City radio for 20 years, I thought back, when did I first meet Al Dukes? And I met Al Dukes in 2000, was it 2000 or 2001? I guess it was 2000.
So at the birth of his run in New York radio.
So Al and I have known each other now for 21 years. Yeah.
Huh.
So there you go.
Good run.
So I've been there for the entire run, other than when I went away for a little while.
All right.
So yes.
You guys even kept in touch through that.
We
though?
did. So I'll tell you a story. So when I was doing mornings, the low-rated show called The Sports Guys, all right? Me, Sid Rosenberg, we had Eddie Ift, we had John Riggins for a bit, we had Blaine Ensley for a while. I got fired. Scott Farrell took my job, and on and on and on. So when I left, or it was not renewed at WNEW, before I went to New Jersey 101.5, I got offered a job to do mornings at a radio station in Cleveland, Ohio. My boss was going to be the guy that's portrayed as Pig Vomit in the Howard Stern movie. Kevin Weatherly, I think is his name. So they offered me X amount of dollars, and I said I want to bring a producer with me. And I'll never forget, they said, well, the money we offered you is for everybody on your show. You can figure out how to split it up.
Oh, good luck.
We have X amount of dollars for our morning show. If you want to keep it, you can keep it. If you want to bring a co-host, a producer, and whatever, that comes out of the money. So I called Al Dukes. Now, Al and I never worked directly together. Al was producing a show called Ron and Fez, which was a very, very good late midday show on WNEW. They came on before Opie and Anthony. And Al and I, so we worked in the same building, but not on the same show. So I offered Al a job to be my producer because I was going to take the job to go to Cleveland. And then long story short, I got the job in Jersey, so I never went. That's how long I've known Al Dukes.
Wow.
But Al Dukes had some very memorable moments.
How much of the money were you going to give him?
Why do you ask me that question?
Because that's the thing
percentage.
everybody's thinking about. That you were given a total amount of money. You want to hire Al, yet it didn't work out.
Yeah.
How much were you giving Al?
They said they had $300,000 for the entire morning show.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
Not
For
a bad
Cleveland,
number.
great.
Yeah.
So, but at first I was like, I'm going to make $300,000
Right.
in Cleveland? That's why I was like, yes.
20 years ago,
They go,
yeah.
no. That's what we have for the entire show. Like the board op, the producer, the sidekick, the co-host, the this, the that.
Right.
So, I don't want to make a number up, but how much would I have given Al out of the $300,000?
$20,000.
I think 10% is a good number to start in Cleveland. $30K to live. Dude, I'd hire other people also.
I understand.
Couldn't give it all to Al
I can't
Dukes.
be the only one, as you told this story, to think I need to know what you were going to pay Al.
I remember it was $300,000 for the entire show.
Okay.
Having
Which is a
worked,
good number.
having worked in New York in the business for almost 15 years, 30 grand, not bad.
You take $30,000.
Exactly.
Listen,
That's why I said 10, CeeLo.
when my first time in Cleveland, which was 92 to 93, I signed a 3-year contract, 30, 32, 33. So that would have been good money for Al.
Yeah.
So it never happened, but that's what the money was. Yeah, which was more than I made at WNEW. I wasn't making $300,000 at NEW. Yeah, crazy, right?
It's hard to figure.
Yeah,
a lot
but
of
that's what they
times.
had for the entire show.
Yes, I understand.
So let's. What do you have?
We've got a couple clips here, which was new for me because
Yeah.
I was not a Ron and Fez listener at the time. No offense to the show.
Yeah, of course.
Very interesting. So I got to see a different side of Al. And we'll start with this one where I guess one of their regular callers or listeners challenged him to what they called the bladder buster competition, where I guess they were just drinking a lot of liquids and side by side.
Yeah, it's
in
an old
studio.
radio promotion that's now illegal because a radio station in Seattle did it and a woman died.
Oh, jeez.
It was hold your pee for a wee.
Oh, God.
It was a big competition.
Jeez.
And a woman, they give you like a drink every 5 minutes, whatever it was.
Right.
and this gal died of water intoxication.
Oh my God.
And that's what stopped like all the old school radio promotions every one of us used to do.
Right.
Hold your pee for a wee.
For a wee. I couldn't last 6 hours, let alone a week.
So Ron and Fez did a similar thing in studio WNEW with Al Dukes, and I guess we're gonna hear a little taste of it.
Al, just hang tough.
Al's been doing the pee-pee dance.
God. You're the man.
And just moaning all during the break.
Does that help you at all, Al?
No. Does that make you feel better?
How's he doing, Pantera?
He hasn't touched drink number 10.
Drink it, Al.
You gotta keep drinking. That's part of the bladder buster competition. That's all part of it.
Oh, you sick bastard.
What happened, Peter?
He lost.
He peed himself.
Al Dukes has just wet himself during the bladder buster competition.
I didn't want that for the poor guy.
Joining us on the hotline now is Al Dukes. Congratulations. Happy anniversary, Al.
Thank you. And I believe you offered me $50,000 actually to go to Cleveland.
Is that what it was?
How about that?
There you go.
Big spender.
$50K to go to
Look
Cleveland.
at you, Craig. Wow.
Yeah.
which would have been about $10,000 more than I was making at WNEW.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was going to be living large out there.
So 20 years in New York City radio, and CeeLo has another moment. We're gonna play. CeeLo, you want to set it up?
Which one we got here? Which one you want me to play?
Play the one where.
Give me a little hint, and I'll
Play
know
the
which
one where Al gets very upset.
Oh yes, yes.
And Al wants somebody to know that he's not fooling around. That it's not a radio bit.
Yeah, he was not pleased. With
Here's
this,
Al Dukes. Al, you want to set this up or no?
Ron and Fez, there was one caller in particular that used to annoy me. So they used to bring this guy in, and I kept telling him not to bring the guy in because the guy was just like so annoying and so relentless, and they just used to let it go on and on and on. So I actually went to the program director at the time and I said, if I get this guy to sign a contract that says I may punch him, and he signs it, am I in the clear if I punch him?
Okay.
And the management, this is radio back then, the management goes, we definitely would defend you. I don't know if we would win that case, but we would defend you.
And
so that was nice.
what was it like working for Ron and Fez? Did you enjoy it?
I did enjoy it. They were a bit of a stressful bunch.
A stressful bunch. What?
Yeah.
Have you stayed in touch with Ron or Fez over the years?
Fez stopped talking to me a number of years ago because they wanted me to come on their show at a time when I wasn't able to come on the show based on what I was doing, I think, at the radio station. I just didn't feel comfortable. They wanted me to go in studio, and I was working on your Boomer and Carton.
Got it.
And I said, I could call in. I said, but I can't come in. That's weird, you know?
So you big-timed Ron and Fez is what you did.
And Fez got angry at that and won't talk to me. But Ron, if I email Ron, I occasionally go back and forth on email, but it's been a while.
Joining us on the hotline right now is Ron Bennington, the star of Ron and Fez. Ronnie, it's Carton Roberts and Al Dukes. How you doing, pal?
I'm doing great. Not only did he work for us, I'm the guy that brought him into New York. He completely forgets about that.
That's true.
Let me give you a quick story of how he got to New York.
Yeah.
There was a certain 9-fingered woman in Florida that I knew who called me up and said, hey, do you need a producer? And I'm like, no, but you and I had that other problem. And she goes, I want to take care of that too. So when Al comes into New York City, comes into CBS Radio, he had an envelope from her that he had to turn over to me, and then we sat down for the job interview. So he basically muled an envelope that he had no idea what was inside. It was cash and something that would quickly become cash. But this could have been life-changing for him if he didn't look like a Boy Scout.
Al, do you remember that?
I do remember one of the other things that they told me afterwards was that, I had like my resume and stuff in a Tampa Bay Buccaneers folder, which I think that helps as well.
Little stickers on it.
Well, Al, you want to say hi to Ron? Go ahead.
Oh, hi, Ron. How are you?
Al, I got news for you. We did
Yes.
a fight one night, you against Earl Douglas,
Yeah.
kind of a loser leaves town thing where you lost. I feel like 20 years after the fact, we Mike Tyson this thing, you know what I mean? We Roy Jones Jr., and we do another fight with the both of you guys.
Oh,
You ready for this?
me against Earl. I think I don't know. I'm a 51-year-old man now. I've fallen apart physically.
Hey, Ronnie, didn't you guys have Al fight a couple of times?
I fought 3 times.
We always would have. It was the only thing he ever really brought to the show. And he was what we would call a bleeder. And he would kind of, help out other people's resumes that he was in. But I'm going to give you another quick Al Dukes story. This is one of my favorite stories of all time. He could not, was it ham that you couldn't eat, Al?
It was mayonnaise and ham. Yeah,
Okay.
it was a combination.
All right. Right. So he couldn't, his uncle did something when he was a kid, so he couldn't eat mayonnaise after that.
Oh, God.
He had a block. So he says, Ron, would you do me a favor and tie up my hands and feet and then soak some ham and mayonnaise, put it in my mouth, and put a tape over my mouth? So I said, yeah, we can do that on the air.
Sure, why not?
While we do it, he's screaming and he's freaking out. And Eddie Trunk walks into the studio. None of this was planned. And he had Rob Halford from Judas Priest with him.
Right.
The only kind of heavy metal, gay S&M guy in history. He sees Al like he's a snack on the floor. And he literally goes, what do we have here? Al is screaming, I'll sue you. I'll sue you through this tape.
Yeah, I threatened to sue him, and he walked right out of the
Oh, yeah. Well, do you believe you made it 20 years in New York City, Ron? I'm sure the answer is no.
I would say no, but the funny thing is just how many careers he destroyed along the way. He ruined O&A. He ruined David Lee Roth. It's but somehow, like a cockroach, Al Dukes goes on. It's phenomenal.
I remember when, I was doing the low-rated sports guy shows. I'll never forget. I come in, sit in the office, and all of a sudden I hear this loud crashing and banging. And Al had somehow pissed Opie off and tried to apologize to Opie. So he bought him a whatchamacallit? What was it?
Beautiful Rolling Stones.
Pinball, yeah. So Al bought him a brand new pinball machine, and all of a sudden I hear this loud crashing sound. Opie took a baseball bat to it because he hated Al so much.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is some deep hatred right there.
Still hates
Yeah, he had
Still
a
hates
sledgehammer
him
in
to
the
this
office.
Really? To this day, he still hates Al?
The only thing that Opie and Anthony agree on today is that they hate Al Dukes. When I try to get them together, I go, hey, remember, we all hate Al Dukes. Like, yeah.
You're
Yeah.
a uniter, Al. You're a
There you
uniter.
Yeah.
Listen, and you're over at Sirius XM now, right, Ron?
Sirius XM, yeah.
There you go. I remember back to those days, as bad as our show was, that we all saw and did things in that radio station that you couldn't even dream of today without being fired on the spot.
No, all of it. It was a pirate ship with one Boy Scout.
That's
Al
it.
Dukes.
Al Dukes.
The rest of it was honestly the craziest thing that I've ever seen. I can't believe no one's written a book about that yet.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I appreciate you coming on and sharing a couple stories, pal, and good luck to you.
Okay, buddy.
And thanks so much.
Same to you. Take care now.
All right, there you go. Ron Bennington. How about that, Al?
Look at that. That's pretty good. How did you even get a contact number?
Don't you worry about how I do things.
Unbelievable.
Yes. So let's play one of the clips of audio real quick.
Yeah, the angry Al.
This is Angry Al Dukes. Go ahead.
And I also wanted to make this clear. Do you think this is a wacky bit, like I'm going to go out the room, and when you come out of the room, it's going to be, hey, that was a great radio. This isn't radio bit. I'm serious.
No, my
Do you know? Do you know that?
Al, you
Do you know it? Look me in the eye and tell me that this is not a bit.
What?
I am pissed off at you. This is not a bit. Do you understand that? Understand what? What do I have to say? This is not a bit.
All right, Al.
Do you get it? Say yes or no. Into the mic.
Al.
Huh? Say it. Yes or no.
Gonna have to think about that.
Right. Then get out. It's not a bit. I don't care. Okay? It's not a bit. Say it into the microphone. It's not a bit. And then we'll move on.
Why don't you just say it's not a bit? It doesn't mean anything.
And then we'll
if you
move
say
on.
It's not a bit.
That way you know that when I walk out of here, the tension doesn't get erased.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Do you understand that?
Sure.
Okay.
No.
So then you know it's not
There.
a bit. Can you say that?
I think he knows.
Say it.
I think he knows that it's
Say
not
it
a
or
bit.
don't say. Say it or leave.
It's fine. It's not
You
a
need
bit.
him to
Thank
sign
you.
something that you want to write up?
Thank you.
All right.
You were very angry, Al.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I was a man on the very edge of a breakdown. Or maybe that was a breakdown.
So when you left NEW, you went to work for a corporate Infinity/CBS, correct?
Yes.
And then what was the first show you worked after that?
Then I went to afternoons at K-Rock with Booker.
With Chris Booker, right?
Yeah.
Got it. And what kind of show was Booker doing?
Booker was playing alternative rock back then, and we would talk a lot as well. I think we played like 6 or 8 songs an hour.
Did
And
you
then-
enjoy working for him?
Yeah, he was great. I love Booker. He was like super easygoing guy on and off the air. It was a great dynamic because like he was the cool guy and I was not the cool guy. I always found like that worked pretty well.
Well, joining us on the hotline now is the cool guy. Here's Chris Booker. Booker, Carton and Roberts, how you doing, pal?
The only person I look to.
We got him on the line or no? Booker, you there?
I'm here. Can you not hear me?
We got you now. We got you now. Yeah. Did you ever
The only
think?
per-
Did you
yeah, I'm the only. I look cool next to Al. That's the only time I ever look cool.
See that? Al made you feel cool about yourself. Did
Right,
you ever-
because like Booker was a self-deprecating guy, but he couldn't pull it off because he was a good-looking dude. He had great hair. He was a rock and roll lifestyle. Then I showed up that he could be the cool. He couldn't not be the cool guy. He was forced into it.
But I recall you quitting the show. That's all I remember. I'm so cool
Yeah.
you had to leave.
Why did you quit working for Booker?
Because somehow they gave me a pay cut to go from NEW to K-Rock.
Got it.
Yeah.
Chris, at any point did you think in your short time with Al that you were talking to a guy that was going to make it 20 years in New York City in radio or no?
Believe it or not, I've never believed that I've had any skill at all. But if I've had any skill, it's identifying people that are really, really interesting people. And Al was, because, as you know, Al is like no other. I've never experienced a person like Al in or out of radio before. And the things he would come up with, I remember, like Al's boring blog was born during my show. He did other things. I'm trying to remember, like we would do these dumb bits. Like he would come up with things. Like somebody called one afternoon and we were playing Def Leppard, and Al just sort of jumps in and goes, "Hey Booker, did you know that Def Leppard the drummer only had one arm?" And I would say, "That's crazy, Al. That's unbelievable. Like you got to have 2 arms to be a drummer." And we would just go back into this thing back and forth, and the audience would be in on it. But It was just things like that he instinctively knew would work. So actually, yeah, to answer that question, I believe it.
There you go.
And in
See,
fact,
Al?
What was interesting was that I was offered a job at corporate again when I was working with Booker, and I went into Tom Chiasano, who many people know from the Howard Stern show, and I was telling him how much corporate was offering me, and Tom goes like this to me, he goes, "I'm not going to get any bidding war over Al Dukes."
I believe that. That was awesome.
I remember when you tried to get the company to pay for your parking garage at NEW.
Yeah, that never worked out.
That never happened either.
No.
Yeah. I think they said walk if you have to, if I'm not mistaken. Booker, thanks for joining, pal. Appreciate it. And you keep doing what you're doing, man.
See you guys.
There you go.
Oh, wow, look at this.
See that? Well, I reached out to David Lee Roth. He
How'd
does
that go?
not remember doing a radio show.
Now there were a lot of people who listened.
But I just wanted to congratulate you on 20 years of being in New York City in radio. Like I said, you and I met back in, I guess it was 2000 or 2001.
It was one. I came in March of 2001.
There you go. At WNEW, which was the home of Opie and Anthony, which really was a formative part of our radio careers. And love you, and glad everything's worked out for you. And I've told this story many times. Well, not all of the story, but when Boom and I first got hired, and they asked, well, who do you want your producer to be? Now, Boomer had no experience doing this on a daily basis, so he was willing to go with whoever I recommended. He trusted me from jump. So I said, there's a guy we have to hire. He's still with the company, because I think you had gone back to corporate at that time.
No, at that point I was working at Opie and Anthony had moved over to 92.3.
Oh, you were the dump guy, right?
Yeah.
Right. So what I mean, let me explain that. So when O&A were doing their kind of stuff, and it happened for us as well, there was a guy that got paid like $30,000 a year. His entire job was to sit in a back room no bigger than a broom closet. And he had to listen to the show, and he would push a dump button if he heard anything that he thought violated an FCC rule. And it was a really tough position, because if the host found out that you dumped something that they thought was acceptable, you were going to get in a fight with the guy. But it was your job. You were the last line of defense. And when you're dumping a show like Opie and Anthony, sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Right.
To preserve your own career and life. So I say to Mark Chernoff and the architect, the only guy I want for the job is Al Dukes. So we kind of saved Al Dukes from being the dump guy for Opie and Anthony.
Well, what happened there is when I took the David Lee Roth job, it paid really good money, and I knew it wasn't going to last long. So I said to them, "Hey, when this goes south, I don't want to be fired. I'll take this job, but I don't want to be fired." So at some point, he got let go. They moved me to the Opie and Anthony thing. But at another point, Tom Chiasano again came to me. They said, "I can't pay you this much money to sit there and just listen to the Opie and Anthony show." But at this point, Opie and Anthony were all right with having a dump guy, because their show was on satellite at the same time.
Right.
So they understood, and things had changed for them too. They'd been fired and off the air for years, so they were fine with having a dump guy. But at WNEW, that door, you would hide in that little room and lock it so they didn't come down and pound the door open.
There you go.
Wow.
So we had a meeting I'll never forget. It was at a diner in Queens. It was me, Mark, Boomer, Al Dukes, and there was a woman they wanted us to consider hiring to be like an update person, traffic news, weather, etc. A job that ultimately went to Tracy Burgess, who did it for a long time. And this woman was married to like a Nick executive or something like that.
Yeah.
Right? And I
Something
remember,
NBA related.
Something,
for sure.
yeah. Very attractive woman, very skilled as an announcer, etc. And I remember we're all sitting there and we're like, it's not going to fit the show that I have in mind. And Al and I are looking at each other, and Chernoff's like, "You're going to be great. It's going to work out so good. Right. The guys love you." And Al and I are like kicking each other on the table, having never done a show. Right. This is before our first show before we ever aired. And we're like, it's never going to happen. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. You're going to be great. So we end, the woman leaves, and Boomer didn't know one way or the other about, that kind of position yet. He certainly does now. And he goes, "She was great." And Chernoff's like, "I think we're going to hire her." And Al and I are like, "Never." That doesn't make any sense. She can't get the job, right?
Right. That was also at a time when, having a meeting with you and Boomer was a non-radio guy. He was a guy coming from, he was famous from something else. And I had just gone through a whole bunch of that with when they were looking for replacements for Howard Stern and David Lee Roth, and there was a bunch of guys like that. And I was just like, "Oh my God, we can't do this again, like bring in a non-radio guy." And I remember you saying, "Oh, don't worry, I'll do all the radio stuff. It'll be great. It's not going to be like these other shows." So that's the only reason why I was like, "Yeah." I guess
Boomer doesn't know that part of the story. Al called me after the diner meeting, and he goes, "I don't know if Boomer's going to work." And I go, "Why?" Because Francesa told me the same thing. Francesa
that
said
Boomer wouldn't work?
Francesa, me and Chernoff met at the Cup Diner in Astoria. And Francesa said, "It's never going to work." And I'll never forget, he said, "I could make it work. You're never going to make it work." He goes, because the guy's a type A, former quarterback, pro athlete. He's not going to want to put in the time or the work.
Right.
It's never going to last. He goes, I could make it work for sure. You'll never make it work with this guy. And then Al Dukes calls me after the diner meeting and goes, I don't think it's going to work with Boomer. Because he just experienced other guys coming from a different profession.
Well, yeah, I mean, the David Lee
into
Roth thing
radio.
can't help. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one hell of an experience.
They were also like Mark, and they were very into like everything was going to be 50-50. So if you said a certain amount, then Boomer would say a certain amount, and you were going to bring it back from break a certain amount,
Right.
then Boomer. And it seems like it was a very focused on like 50-50, 50-50.
Right.
And you would call me, you go, I'm taking over all the radio stuff. I'm going to do all the radio stuff.
Wait,
Don't
so
you
Al,
worry."
when did you then believe it would work? Like, when did you then start to have confidence this is going to work? This is different.
When Boomer didn't have that ego of coming from something else and being really great, like Boomer is an alpha
I
male
agree.
for sure.
Right.
I agree.
But allowing the radio guy to do the radio stuff, and that you could also bust Boomer's balls, and he didn't like get offended by it. Like you
Right.
could really bust his chops. Callers were doing it. Craig was doing it. That's when I knew it was a different thing.
Yeah,
Right.
Boomer allowed that to happen. He didn't have to because
Right.
by the way, if Boomer had said to Chernoff, I'm bringing it in and out of breaks, they would have said yes to that.
Yeah.
Because he was more well known,
Sure,
he's a
sure,
celebrity and all
sure,
that stuff.
sure.
And that, to Boomer's credit, he said, look, you do radio, you do it.
Right.
So he was happy to allow me to do it. But I want to be clear, he allowed me to do it in that
Yeah.
first year. Corrals.
And
And,
that
the
was-
show
that was
never would have
the thing.
worked if we didn't do it that way.
Right, because the other shows that I'd worked on or worked with, where there were celebrities coming from another field, they wanted all of the control, and
Right.
you would even try to pair them with a radio person they wanted nothing to do with it. David Lee Roth's a perfect example. He didn't want a radio guy with him.
It goes back. We always talk about it. Know what you know and know what you don't know. I give Boomer
Right.
a lot of credit for that. Then.
Well, listen, my man, 20 years. You've made it 20 years. CeeLo, you have something else?
Well, someone brought this to my attention. I had forgotten this, that
Okay.
there was another, how shall I say this, urine-related incident involving Al and another member of the show here.
Go ahead.
And we did just find this clip on YouTube, so the guys tell me it's okay. So we'll
ahead.
play the first
Play it.
20 seconds or so and see what happens.
Al, will you come in and take this? I don't want the
Oh,
sitting
geez.
here. It was just two guys watching each other pee. I don't think. You were nervous about taking the test. You're nervous. Oh, no! Are you out of your mind? Are you the single dumbest human being on the planet? Honestly. Are you? Are you? You two idiots.
Yeah, we gave Tommy a drug test, and Al, he passed the test.
Yeah.
And Al came in and spilled the cup of urine.
Right on you.
On
Yeah.
your
And then he
hand.
went running out of the studio.
And then he ran out of the
afraid
studio.
for his life.
Yeah, that was on TV. Yeah, that was good.
Craig, you're standing here like,
Yeah, yeah.
get this off of me. I don't
Well-
want to touch anywhere near anything.
We can all laugh about it now, can't we? Well, congrats on the 20 years. Well done. And appreciate the friendship. And I'm glad we could take a little walk back. And I will thank Ron and Booker for joining us. I thought you might appreciate that.
Yeah, that
and,
was awesome. Thank you.
Hopefully you got another 20 in you, because Boomer and Gio aren't going anywhere.
Yes, or at least 10. I need at least 10 more years.
Do you think you'll do 10 years from home like you did 10 years in studio?
That would be awesome if I could do the next 10 just from home.
You might as
Yeah.
well, right?
Yeah, why not?
All right.
Unfortunately,
You're
I have
going to
to
get
be
Al
at
back in here
7.
soon, and then he's going to be screaming
Yeah.
at the callers the same way he was screaming at that
Yeah,
guy.
no
This is
doubt.
not
Oh
a
my
bit.
gosh. Right.
All right. Congrats. Happy anniversary. Enjoy it.
Thank you.
All right, buddy.
See you.
There you go. Al Dukes. All right. Appreciate that little walk down memory lane. Great talking to Ron. Ron and Fez was a great show. And Booker's, who's been back and forth from Cali to New York 500 different times, doing a great job. And I tried to figure out how to get David Lee Roth on. Obviously, I couldn't. But I thought that would have been great. Because David Lee Roth legitimately wanted Al dead.